Third time's a charm. Yes, you heard it here first. I screwed the intro up twice, and so we did it a third time. I'm not doing it again. I don't care. You can just deal without my sweet, sweet, sweet music if I screw it up again. We're Almost Agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Check out our website, almostagreement.com. We got all sorts of cool stuff going on there. While you're at almostagreement.com, you can click through to the Hollaroo link, hollaroo.co, happyhollerfest.com. We are putting on a Soapbox Derby Street Fair concert. Shout out to Rusty at Blank Magazine and Felicia at Relics and Brookside for helping lead this catastrophe that I'm somehow in charge of. But if you're interested in racing a derby car, or if you have a cool little business that you want to set up your vendor tent, hit us up at hollaroo.co, and there's links to get all that stuff taken care of. Share this with your friends. Share that with your friends. And we're going to do a show. Me and Sam are in the room. And no annoying lawyers talking about how they don't know how to talk about anything legal except for their one little tiny field of legalness, because, you know, that's how lawyers are. So, I'm streaming people. Here we go. What's happening, my friend?
What is going on?
What's new? What's exciting? What's different? What's something you can tell me that I didn't know going into today?
Can't not say I've learned any new information.
Yeah, you have.
Any new interesting information.
I mean, I think you shared one of the funniest, I don't know, one of the most ridiculous things going on in our state house right now with me earlier today, and I think it is a...
I think this started out in the Senate, though.
I think this is a fun...
Or at least it's currently a Senate bill.
This is will be a fun and interesting topic to watch it burn, because I can't imagine this thing passing. Why don't you introduce it to the people for me? I got it pulled up for you.
We got Senate Bill 2636, brought by Mr. Rose.
Yep. Senator Paul Rose, Lauderdale, Shelby, and Tipton County, so that would be West Tennessee.
Oh, he's Christian. It was already passed on second consideration.
Well, what is it? Okay, so this bill has passed in the Senate on some sort of whatever.
It prohibits beer permitting from selling at retail refrigerated or cold beer.
Right. Prohibits a beer permittee, so a person who has achieved the status and the right by the state of Tennessee to sell beer may not sell cold beer per retail. So that would, I'm assuming, I mean, it has to be.
It's
the retail curb. Permit, and they're just some definitions real quick. Retail would be you buy it and take it home, not you go to the bar. They could still sell cold beer at the bar if this passes. They just can't sell cold beer to go.
That'd be fucked up.
One of the problems with this to me, but yes, I told my wife, and she's a fucking genius, and she goes, it may be more about homeless issues than it is about DUIs. And as it's a way to discourage the homeless, which I don't like. My gut reaction to that is they'll drink it hot. They don't care.
Exactly.
But, you know, I don't know. Like, I can't imagine this actually gets all the way through anything. It passed on first consideration on the Senate floor, meaning this is something we will pick up and actually go through the process on. Right? So it was introduced on the 31st. It was passed on first consideration in the Senate, meaning it is officially into the calendar to go through the process. Not that it passed in the sense that it's approved and now the House has to put their counterpart together, and when they say yes, then it's good to go to the governor's desk. So now it goes into subcommittee. There's only two things that make sense to this to me. This is one where I think you're right. I think it's a DUI thing. I think it's probably a mother's against...
That's what they say, at least.
What do you mean?
That's what the legislature is saying, or I guess what goes on with this. That this is supposed to try to curb DUI.
Oh, where did it say? I didn't see that somewhere in there.
No, in the little blurb that I heard that was talking about this bill, and I was like,
that's what I was thinking. What? I was thinking it was like a Mothers Against Drunk Driving group put it together. Yeah. Like it was a mad group.
Their thought is convenience stores, basically. If people,
right? I mean, we worked at Weigel's, and I remember all the time.
Yeah,
people would come in and buy a single 24-ounce, 32-ounce Miller High Life. And at the time, at least, I don't know if it's still technically legal, the law on it, but at the time, at least, we were required to bag it. You couldn't take a single beer out unbagged.
Have they changed it? I thought you still had to.
I thought so, too, but we go back and forth. I've had a bunch of conversations. I was explaining it to a staffer because back then, you didn't have a lot of canned beer six-packs. Weren't norm. Not often.
What are you talking about?
I mean, Coors Light and stuff like that, but you didn't have a lot of them. Most everybody did.
Well, the major retailers had cans.
Not in the volume they had now. That's not my point.
Okay,
whatever. You don't pick apart the detail that I'm not trying to get to.
Just saying you're wrong. Okay, go ahead.
Like the bottle 6-pack holder, we had to bag because you could get a loose beer out of there. But if it was ring cans or the enclosed cardboard cans, which is more common now, you didn't have to. We didn't have to bag it. That was how it was explained to me by one of our managers at Weigel's back in the day.
I guess I could kind of see that in the like cardboard boxed 6-pack.
Right, because opening the bag and getting the beer out is a step, and taking the beer out of the box is a step.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what they're trying to do, is to make you take it one more step. But it's like the big singles, people just put them in the bag that we gave it to them, and you could. Like I remember seeing people open it right outside the door.
Yeah. I only refused one guy. Oddly enough, it was a lawyer. It was a semi-regular, but I literally saw him like pull up to like one of the. It wasn't the gas station or the gas pump trash cans, but like the one that's like way out in the corner where the air pump was. But like I saw him throw away like at least one or two singles like into the trash can, and then come inside and try to buy another single. And my conscience got the best of me, and I was like, I'm sorry, man, I can't sell to you.
Can't do it. Not doing it.
I was like, man, I literally just saw you like throw away beer.
I mean, it could have been from yesterday.
That's very true, but I was going to err on the side of caution.
But so here's the thing to me is like, okay, so at least on the house side, it was filed for introduction, intro PC, P1C, which I don't know what that means, P2C, caption bill held on desk pending AMDT, don't know what that means.
Wait. What's the House bill sponsor withdrawn?
Yeah, so three people that had originally signed on the House side have said they don't want to carry it in the House. It appears to me that nobody in the House wants to carry it.
Huh.
I mean, dudes from the Memphis area, so assuming...
do you have to... I guess it's kind of a civics thing, but do you have to cajole someone on the opposing body?
Yeah, somebody has to carry it.
To then carry it as well.
Yeah, that's one of the total volume things that we talk about. Like the rules are somewhere around like each House member can do like 15 to 20. Well, there are exactly 3 House members for every senator. So if a bunch of the House is carrying most of the bills that they can, then the senators are carrying 3 times that. So a senator's carrying 60 bills, at least that they're sponsoring and they're carrying through the process. So this is dead in the water. Unless this is something that there's a bait and switch going on here, that this is a caption bill, that this is really something to get on the books, so that here in a couple months they can make some adjustments and then reintroduce it. This one's dead in the water. There's no fucking way. Like, you think... Like,
well, I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing to like kind of like float an idea. I mean, like, okay, what are you guys cool with?
I mean, you can float that idea without putting it on paper in official filings.
True.
I mean, especially in the Senate side. Like, Massey was talking about that a couple weeks ago when she was on. She's like, I know everybody. I am on a first name basis with every senator because there's only 35 of them.
Yeah.
The House side is a little bit more unruly because there's 100 of them. 99, technically. And so it's a little harder for you to have a real relationship with the entire House as a House member because there's 98 other people you got to get to know, and their staff and their team and this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. And so for a senator, it wouldn't be that hard for a senator to float this and get a feel. Which I guess maybe he did, and the feel was, yeah, sure, we'll get it on the floor, we'll see what happens. And that's why he went ahead with it. He just can't get somebody in the House to get any traction on it. I just don't see, I don't see grocers being okay with this.
All right.
Because to me, at least as written, the caption as introduced prohibits a beer permittee from selling at retail refrigerated or cold beer.
All right.
So like Kroger, Ingles, Food City are just going to be like, yeah, okay, no worries. We don't have millions of dollars in coolers that we spent just for beer in our facilities that we're just going to repurpose to freaking grapefruits or whatever.
Right.
I don't see Kroger or I mean Pilot for that matter, even though it's not the Haslam's anymore. But Pilot Corp, I mean, how much cooler space do they have dedicated to beer? And then Pilots and then all the Casey's gas stations and Weigel's and all the other big, I just don't see the
They've
big
got at least 2 or 3.
Right, and then not even counting all the actual beer distributors and everybody else in the middle. And there's a functional issue at play here too, because like some grocery stores will do kegs, and I don't know. It depends on the beer specifically, but 90% of keg beer you're supposed to stay cold. Like it's supposed to stay cold in the process.
Yeah.
And so you can't retail a keg anymore because, like, I know Ingles especially. Most Ingles, when they're in their walk-in, they have a beer cave. Most Ingles will have like a dozen or so random kegs of like Ultra and stuff like that. And people come in and swap their kegs out regularly there. You couldn't sell kegs anymore from an Ingles. It's like, I don't know. I'm curious. This, like I said, I think this is one of those. The Mothers Against Drunk Driving came in him and said, "Put this bill up," and he said, "Vote for me," and they said yes, and he said, "Okay, I'll put it up," knowing it was going to die. I just don't see how this is going to. There's no way.
I would like to think it wouldn't pass, but crazier things have happened.
Yeah, I mean, he is a Republican, so there is a chance. I mean, it's not like he's a Memphis Democrat, because then there'd be no chance. His co-sponsor is, or the guy on the House side that's carrying it, or at least originally carrying it, is Republican from Pipperton, District 94, Fayette, McNary, and parts of Hardeman counties. No idea where that is.
Yeah.
So,
we'll see.
We'll keep an eye on her, see how she goes. Anything else that you watched in the House and Senate stuff going on that you?
Nah, I just happened to hear that on the radio early, and I was like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
So I looked it up, and I got home, and I was like, "Huh? Oh, second consideration." No, I think I did hear on the radio that it got passed in second consideration in the Senate side.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know how many times the Senate has to consider it before whatever.
But yeah, and so I had a fun phone call today with Becky Massey and the lady named Carol, I think, from Department of Agriculture.
Yeah.
It's really dumb. It was dumb. I should have known better. That's one of those. Like, I was all excited, like I was going to get a point across and make a difference. And literally, like, I'm in the middle of a rant, and Becky interrupts me. She's like, "Well, hey, hold on real quick. That's not, we can't do that here." And I was like, because, okay, so the way, the functional way these things work is, so the Senate and the House and the governor, they put this bill together, they sign off on it. State departments that have to deal with it, this particular one would be Department of Revenue, Department of Agriculture. It goes into theirs, and they figure out how they're going to execute the law. And by figuring out how to execute the law, they make their specific, they get to make the more defined version of the rules than what the law says, which I have a problem with that in and of itself. We've already talked about that. That's not the point. So the process, though, is that they start doing it, and basically like what we were, there's all this different stuff, and like pre-versions of the rules were getting kind of leaked or announced, like Department of Ag saying, "This is what we're thinking about doing here. This is what we're thinking about doing here." And again, that's part of the process. They have to put their set of rules out and say, "Okay, everybody, this is how we're going to apply this. This is how we're going to apply the rules to this law that's coming on the books." And as of January or July of this year, this is when all the stuff will take effect. They put that out there, then everybody gets a comment period, and you could email their offices, you can call them, you can do all these different things to put a comment in. They hold a public meeting, you can go to the public meeting, you can make your piece at the public meeting. As soon as that public meeting's over, it kind of hits a no man's land. And that no man's land is they're not taking comments anymore, but they can't answer questions. And so, like, I'm sitting here talking to the Department of Ag, making comments, and then asking questions about how this applies and what do I need to do about this. And it's like, well, we can't take your, like, we understand your comments, and I've heard comments similar to yours from people, and I am making notes of them, but they're not going to be official comments because it's not that time period. It's like, understood. But do you have any questions? And it's like, well, how am I supposed to go about this part of the process? This is what I'm told is going on. It's like, well, we haven't set the rules yet because now we're in the adjustment period after the comments. So it was really just a waste of time. I mean, it wasn't. It was neat. It was interesting. I learned that process part of things,
right.
And that's kind of cool. Like, I now understand that once the comment period over, is it basically goes into like a doldrums where there's a lot happening behind the scenes because they are required by law to respond to comments. Like, if you wrote them a comment through the Department of Ag website, they're required to respond to your comment.
Huh.
Now they're allowed to take them all and say, okay, well, this, and this are all the same basic question or comment that people are asking. We pile them all together and we do one blast back to all those people that says, this is answering your question.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, everybody gets an answer to their question or comment, gets responded to. That's a rule. Huh. And that goes up until...
But you didn't know about this?
I mean, I knew there was the comment period, but like I don't know. I didn't know what I was expecting, to be honest.
Right.
And so, but when the public meeting happens, that's the last time they take public comments, and then they go and assess those comments and make adjustments as they feel is necessary. And then here in a couple of weeks or months, they will re-announce what their planned rules are, and then it goes to the Senate or to the legislative rules committee or something like that, which is a joint body of House and Senators, for them to sign off officially on it. And once they sign off on it, then it gets slated to go into law at whatever time break is officially at play.
So the House and Senate have to re-look over it? Is there a chance that they would be like, oh, never mind?
Yeah, well, basically, I think my assumption is, and this goes to that giving credit where it may not be deserved thing, my assumption is the process is built to say, okay, here's the law, go set it up. They go, they set it up, they go through all the process, they come back to them, here's how we're going to execute it. And then the legislation goes, that was not what we intended with this law.
Right. That's not what we passed.
Go back and rework it. I think is the idea.
Learning something new.
Yeah, so we're here for. Get you learning shit. That's kind of the point. Like that's my joke about myself in the show. I'm dumb enough to ask the questions because everybody like, oh, I took civics class. I know how this shit works. No, you don't. No one knows how this shit works. I don't think Department of Ag knows how this shit works, and they do it every day. And it certainly doesn't work efficiently. But
I saw some funny video that was ragging on Marjorie Taylor Greene.
That's a tough
I'm not
one.
sure how new it was, but I guess there was one of the, like, not reconciliation, but as far as like it's extending the budget or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess at some point prior to that, there was an older congresswoman that had gotten up and said, we're close to a shutdown. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene let up like, I think the 80-something-year-old representative, forgot she just voted for this a few hours ago. And then the other old lady got back up in response to her. It was like, I think the general, I think they call it general woman. The general woman from Georgia, I think may need a lesson in civics, and that there are two chambers to the legislative process. And just because we signed off on it doesn't mean that it becomes law. Basically to that effect.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that most of them don't know what the fuck they're doing either.
Yeah.
I think that, I think that is a reality period.
You just signed a bill. We're not looking at
like these legislative assistants and stuff like that come on board that I would assume that is not assigned to you by the party, but kind of assigned to you by the party. The people that live and work in Washington all year, every year, regardless of who the elected person is that they're working for, they're the ones that really know what the fuck's going on procedurally. I'm not going to say legally speaking, but procedurally, like, this is how the shit works. That's an assistant that the Democratic Party assigns to you because you're a Democrat from which you win a seat. Right. I would assume. I mean, I'm sure you can bring your own people in, but I mean, if I get elected to a seat or whatever, I'd be like, how's this? I don't know how any of this shit works.
Yeah, I need an assistant, please.
I need an assistant that's been here for a while. But I mean, it does run into like,
I need an adult.
I mean, truthfully, yes, 100%. But at the same time, I can see how that can run into some issues.
Right.
Because, depending on how, for lack of a better word, loyal the assistant is to you versus to the party or to you as to something else, like maybe, maybe there is something that assistant really doesn't like that you're trying to push through or vote on or something like that, and they're kind of giving you a little bit of a runaround, even though it's within the party norms or whatever. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, that is a particular issue that accidentally you run into, and your assistant's like, nope, you can't do that. What do you mean I can't do that? It's like, well, I don't want you to do that, but they're not going to say that. They'll be like, well, I know you don't know how this works, so I'm going to tell you something that makes it so you do what I want you to do, not what you want to do. I wouldn't say it's a common issue. But I think it's a reflection of, like, I think it's that, like, I know I've mentioned it on the show before. I think that's one of the things. I think that's why Becky's good. And I think one of the things I like about Becky is because I called Becky. I talked to her in her office about this situation, trying to understand what the fuck's going on with all this shit in the Department of Ag and stuff. And Becky's like, hey, let's do a phone call. Let's get together. Let's me and you talk with the Department of Ag, and we'll see if we can't get on the same page and everything. Pointless phone call. She could have handled the, hey, what do you want to talk about? Okay, well, then none of that stuff really applies right now, so let's put it on the back burner, but we'll set one up when we can actually do something with what you're trying to talk about.
Yeah.
That would have been nice too, but, anyway, it doesn't matter. I got FaceTime with Becky, and that's great. But what I don't disagree. I don't agree necessarily with a lot of stuff on Becky and politics, but I really appreciate the way she goes about it because she is very open to me, and maybe it's just she likes me. Maybe I remind her of her grandchild or something. I don't know, but she is very open to me, and when I reach out to her in her office, they respond, and I actually feel like I'm getting some interaction, and I feel like I'm getting some sort of touch on whatever the situation is.
I mean, I would say to a certain extent,
they
probably don't get a whole lot of kind of back and forth with constituents.
Well, because I think that is by design, and I think Becky breaks that design, and I think that's what I'm trying to get to. This episode is not funded or paid for by Becky Massey or her campaign. I just like Becky Massey. I think it's intentional. I think over time that was an intent. I think it's purposeful that our state legislative body, our federal legislative body, and even our local county or city legislative bodies have made things more complex than are necessary as a way to build a little bit of a gap between them and the public. It's not that it's super hard to get in once you get in and start looking around, but you have to put forth the effort, and I think they bank on the fact that we don't.
Yeah.
I think some of them with very malintent bank on that fact, and some of them just kind of accept the fact that that's the way it is. And not take advantage is an overstatement for some. I would say some absolutely take advantage of it, but I would say for most, it's just like there's got to be a level somewhere where you're like, I can't talk to people anymore. Like people are calling me every day, and they kind of take a little bit of refuge in the facts that the public it doesn't understand and doesn't know how to interact with them. You know, it's like you go out there on the campaign where you're forcing yourself onto the public.
I'd say at a certain level, once you get to, once your name is either out there tied with certain bills or whatever that become more well known.
But see, I still don't think a lot of people interact. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Because they think it's hard. They think it's difficult. They think they're not going to understand what it is that when they get answers to their question, it's not going to make any more sense than it did when they asked the question.
That, or maybe they put out one email and got kind of a generic response back, like sure. Thank you for your response.
Sure, I think that's a standard operating deal. It's like, okay, cool, thanks for reaching out. We'll be in touch.
That's where persistence can become key.
Yeah, or stubbornness, whichever way you like.
Yeah,
I would call myself the more stubborn than persistent.
Right.
Because I'm not getting anything out of it. I mean, I take personal.
But their offices are common knowledge. Well, yeah, and they're public records.
Yeah, we were just looking at it, all those little names we clicked on when we were looking at the different bills the bills we were just talking about. You click on their name,
phone number, got an email,
and it gives you their office, their secretary's contact as well.
Ah, gotcha.
Like on the state website, it does both, and I think that's a pretty legit little feature.
What room number they're in?
Except for Gloria.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a number on the closet.
Hallway number 5, yeah.
Senator Paul Rose, Republican, District 32, Lauderdale, Shelby, Tipton counties, married, whatever. His Nashville address for his office space, so he's room 734, it looks like, in the Cordell Hull building. His Nashville office phone number, his Nashville office fax, and then his staff contacts, which usually are click-through. Hope Blackman, his executive secretary. Usually when you hit that, it's a click-through.
Not always.
Apparently not, because...
Maybe they don't have a handle.
What? Don't be dumb. There she is, the old Becky Massey. Carly Nelson, see what I mean? There it is. Boom. And then it's going to open my default email app and... you could, and that's the way to go about getting them. And so Becky is in Suite 776 of the Cordell Hull building. So, gross. Okay. I just figured something out. Mr. Rose is West Tennessee's version of Randy McNally.
How's that?
Because Shelby County is a big enough county that it has multiple senators. Like Knox County has multiple senators. We have Briggs, Massey, and then we have McNally, who wedges in a little bit. So Paul Rose, Lauderdale, and Tipton counties are probably much more red-leaning, and so they wedged him in to take a chunk of the blue out.
Bradley. or
of
Shelby.
Shelby.
Yeah.
They gerrymandered him to take a chunk of the blue out of Shelby, so that it minimized how many blue senators they get in the process.
No.
How dare they?
I wouldn't do that.
Senator sen.paul.rose@capital.tn.gov if you guys want to hit him up for why the fuck you're trying to take away our cold beer. You son of a bitch.
When I'm ready for a beer, I need it to be cold.
Oh, that's what it is. He's the president of Rose Construction. He probably loses half of his workers for DUIs driving around with open cold beers.
Doubt it.
That was a slab. That was a slam on construction workers. I'm sorry. Get out there and build some shit, guys. I love you. Or gals. I don't mean to be sexist. Anyway, my favorite national story of the week was old Trumpy truthing to Putin about invading some NATO countries. Everybody getting all fucking crazy about it.
Did you like that?
I thought it was hilarious. Not in the positive way. Like, I don't think it's hilarious like I would like to see it happen. But I think it's hilarious how bent out of shape people get about it.
Send me back down / also double down on it.
Like Putin gives a fuck what Trump says. Like if we were to believe the narrative during the Trump presidency, Trump is a puppet to Putin in the first place. So I guess it would be good for Putin if he had U.S. approval to invade NATO countries. I suppose that would be a net positive for him and his imperial goals. But at the end of the day,
he doubled down quite on his original statement of he would tell Russia to do whatever the hell they want. I
don't like Trump.
Kind of backtracked a little bit, but still was like, yeah, if you haven't paid your dues, I'm not going to protect you.
I don't like Trump. I don't like Trump, but I don't disagree with that part of the conversation. Why do we have to pay the bills for this? Why do we pay the majority of the bills for it? Because we're the biggest fucking economy out of the set. Sure. But is the amount we pay and contribute either in dollars or troops?
Is that a required amount?
I don't give a fuck if it's required or not.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we're paying above and beyond what we're required to? Is there requirements for payment?
No.
Okay, so nobody has to pay it all?
No.
Okay, so then why do we pay so much? And why would you pay if you're fucking Poland if you got the U.S.?
Are we paying over our amount?
What amount? There's no required amount. You just said that. Is there a requirement?
Well, you're saying we
I actually do believe that there's at least some requirements. I think it's like a minimum of like 2 to 5% of your GDP has to be spent on defense budget.
Yeah, it's a suggested amount.
Oh,
I agree
that
there are countries that don't meet it.
Okay, well, I suggest that they take care of their own shit and not lean on us to do it for them. If that's all it is just a set of suggestions, then I suggest we don't follow through on the obligations that it says we're supposed to have.
Okay, why are we a part of it then?
I don't know. I know why we were a part of it. I know why it existed.
All right, so
80
you're
years
advocating
ago.
for dropping out of it?
I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know?
I don't know what I'm advocating. I'm not advocating for anything. I'm advocating for, like, I've advocated for 1,000 times on the show.
You can't be a part of it and then say that, like, if something happens, you won't abide by the agreements that you have abided to.
If there's, are there rules or not? Are there standards or not?
You're talking about totally different rules as a part of the I guess. The NATO charter.
The rule is we would like you to spend X number of dollars on it, but we don't require it. But you are required to throw in what you can when something happens.
What penalties do you think there should be for not meeting your yearly quota for NATO? As an abstract thought, what as the body of NATO would you do to a country that?
I would think that you would
January 1st of the following year, and you did 1.8% of your GDP versus 2%. We'll put that as a 2%, whatever.
I mean, I don't know. You could put a fine series in place. You could say, okay, well, you're on a probationary period. If you don't get that spending up to meet the level that you're required to do, then the conversation will happen about dropping you from the alliance. What's the point of the alliance? Because this is an alliance. This isn't a trade organization or a United Nations kind of thing. This is a military alliance, right? That's all NATO is. It's not NATO is not a trade organization.
North Atlantic Trade Organization.
Are you sure?
NATO, NATO.
I understand.
North Atlantic Trade. I mean, trade is literally a word in the name.
No, it's not.
What is it? What's it stand for? Oh, sorry, treaty.
Okay. And so treaties, usually, you do a treaty at the end of a war, right? The treaty, this is like a Treaty of Versailles add-on, right? So the treaty, it's a military document. This is an agreement amongst us who have the military power so that we will protect ourselves and each other as a common good. Well, what are we protecting if you're not putting in your part? We're protecting you without you protecting yourself. Now, I acknowledge that it's not going to be equal, that we don't expect Poland to put in what France puts in because of their economic powers that they are. That's why they do a percentage. As far as in real dollars, so you do it as a percentage of GDP.
Right.
Which makes sense. And it's like, hey, okay, you had a bad year. Shit happens. I'm not going to get mad at you for that. You had a shitty year. Get it back together. Get it right. Or there has to be some process here, or it's like, why would you, like, if year after year you don't contribute what you're required to contribute, you are not, it's not even contribute, it's not like you're putting money into NATO, you're just you're spending on your own military enough to keep your military at the level required.
I don't know how exactly, if it goes into a general fund, I don't really know how
my understanding of it is that it's defense spending, and that would be on yourself. So the United States, for example, spends whatever $1 trillion a year on defense spending. That's X number of percent of our national whatever, of our GDP. It's more than 2, I guarantee you that. And so it's not that you have to spend. It's not that Poland has to send 2% of their GDP to NATO, and then NATO does troops. Maybe there's some amount that goes that way. But for the most part, as I understand it, is you have to have for your nation a minimum of this much army available if we need it. If you need it for yourself, but if we need it as a group, you have to have that available.
Yeah, I think they rotate out. Or maybe I'm thinking of UN. It might be UN peacekeepers that they rotate out countries. Or rotate out...
occupiers?
Yeah.
Or whatever, yeah. But...
peacekeepers.
That's my understanding of it. So, hey, you keep 2%, you keep 2%, you keep 2% of GPT, so that it doesn't make it overwhelming for your budget. But between the 30-something nations or whatever that are in it, we have a 5 million man army and trillions of dollars in hardware. So if shit ever gets hot and we don't nuke each other on day one, we've got a good chance of combined efforts to take over anything else we want, or like to protect ourselves from anything else in the world. That's the idea. So
I'm sorry, I was thinking of NAFTA earlier. I was like, "What the fuck was I thinking of? That had treaty in the or trade in the name."
I mean, there's lots
North
of
Atlantic Free Trade Agreement. I was thinking of NAFTA.
And so, again, it's that's the deal. Like, if it's like, hey, man, if we are just physically neighbors, and we have some hoodlums running around the neighborhood breaking into cars at night, right? And so we as a neighborhood get together and be like, hey, we got to do something about this. KPD or Knox County Sheriff's Office isn't going to won't put an officer out here all day, every day to keep an eye on these kids that are breaking into cars at night. So let's put our neighborhood watch together. And the neighborhood watch agreement is on Monday night, you stay out and you walk the neighborhood with your flashlight, your camera, and your phone. And then on Tuesday night, I'll do it. And then on Wednesday night, he'll do it. And then on Thursday night, that household will take care of it. And we'll build a schedule so that we're all protecting our neighborhood.
All right.
So what happens to the neighborhood group if you just skip your Tuesdays? We might get away with it once or twice. It might be okay.
I get your point, but you're giving the example that one party has then done nothing.
I mean, sure, it's a broader. Okay, no, I'll stay with it, and you're supposed to be the night watch, and you only do half of it. You do a third of it. You do 2/3 of it. But you consistently aren't doing your agreed upon amount of neighborhood watch. Is it better than nothing? I suppose. But at least in the personals of our neighborhood group, you're going to be a dick, and we're all going to look at you like you're a dick until you start staying out all night.
So then when all those other neighbors see someone breaking into your house, they stay in there with folded arms.
They might.
They expect it and just like, serves you right.
It depends which neighborhood.
That's acceptable?
It depends which neighborhood.
That's acceptable.
Look,
I mean, it's essentially what this comes down to. Is essentially
sure. I commend your commitment to the idea that we are supposed to take care of everybody else in the world.
We're not fucking taking care of everybody else in the world.
It feels like we are.
All right, because we are the only person in NATO.
Okay, but the people that don't pull their weight, we're gonna pick them up and we're gonna make sure they're taken care of. And then we have all these like just nations that we have trade relations with.
Have they been in need?
Huh?
Have they been in need?
There's not a current NATO. I mean, short of what we are doing right now with the Russia-Ukraine situation, we do not have an active NATO war situation going on.
Okay. Huh. Does that change the...
Is Israel a NATO nation? Are they in active war right now?
I'm not sure.
Is anybody else spending $25 billion right now to aid their military efforts?
I don't think Israel is a NATO nation.
Okay. I mean, they're certainly not North Atlantic, but
right.
That doesn't really mean anything anyway. I mean, Ukraine's not really a North Atlantic nation technically either.
I wonder if Mexico's involved.
In NATO?
Yeah.
I mean, Canada would be, like, geographically accurate. I already closed it.
I was about to say I'm pretty sure, but I would assume that Canada's a part of NATO.
I would think so, too. They're part of the Commonwealth. They do whatever the Queen, the King tells them to.
I mean, they're what, the third largest country in the world?
By acreage or square footage or however you want to.
Yeah, I mean, that's generally how largest country in the world is denoted, square mileage.
Or population's another common way that people say the largest nation in the world by population.
No, that'd be most populous.
Okay, whatever. Why do we pick the dumbest little shit to fucking... Anyway.
Well, you're just throwing out stupid shit. I'm sorry.
That's all I ever do. That's what the point of the show is. No, okay. I mean, again, I appreciate that. Here's what confuses me about the stance is that you scoff at the whole "we're America, we're the best" thing that we've been force fed through our entire lives, right? You scoff at that. You hate that. You think that's a net negative to our general position in the world because we walk around like arrogant fucking dickheads, like we own the fucking place and we can do whatever we want.
To an extent, yeah.
But at the same time, we also put it on our back to be the world police and do all that other kind of shit too. We are actively we have bases and troops in 38 different countries right now. I think there's only like 100 and something in the world. So like over a third of the nations in the world that has a U.S. military base on it. Like they're like literally the sun never sets on the American empire kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like literally there is an American citizen on active duty in the sun right now.
Most likely, yeah.
No, I don't think most likely. I think absolutely. We have Australian bases. Like there's Southern Hemisphere shit. There's Northern Hemisphere shit. We are all over Asia, Mid-Atlantic, Atlantic, Europe, Africa. We're all over the fucking place. Like those three guys that died, those three Georgia kids that died a couple weeks ago. Reservists, nonetheless, which is fucking ridiculous by itself. You know, they were in Libya or Sudan. I don't remember where they were. They were in some nation, and some Iranian-backed militia threw some big exploding rocks at them, and a couple of them died, and a bunch of other ones got concussions. It doesn't make the math.
Iraq, I want to say
the math doesn't make just doesn't make sense to me. It was not Iraq, but we still do have a large military presence in Iraq right now too, as well. Yes, but I don't think that's where those guys got killed. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That detail is unimportant to my argument. I don't get it. Like I understand the economic stability argument a little bit, but I don't understand how $100 billion in foreign aid for two conflicts in Eastern Europe and the Middle East, while yes, theoretically I could see how that is a net positive in world economics, how that spending offsets the damage to U.S. economics at the same time. Does that make sense? Like that global stability thing? Okay, I get it.
What economic damage are you feeling?
I mean, $100 billion didn't fall out of the sky. Or it does. Like, do we just have $100 billion in our budget that we can just toss out? I mean, this is on top of the hundreds of billions of dollars we've already spent in Ukraine. The $100 billion, that we already spent in Ukraine. since that one started. But we've got it's what 60 billion more they're sending to Ukraine right now. And
was that money paid
30?
Was it paid to American companies to build it?
Some of it might.
Would you consider that a wash?
So, to build what? Is that what it is? Is it in spending on hardware and then we're giving the hardware, or are we sending that to Ukraine and Ukraine spending on what they want to do?
Don't know how the money.
I don't know either, and that's part of the problem I have with it. And we're not allowed to know because it's secret for security's sake or whatever. It's like, I don't know. If you wanted to borrow,
I'd say to a certain degree, it is. I guess what one could consider propping up the military-industrial complex. I
mean, and maybe you could do some deep dive digging on how the propping up. You don't need to prop up the military-industrial complex. That goes. Remind me of the Boeing thing here in a minute. You don't need to prop up the military-industrial complex. They make plenty of money as is. It's enriching the military-industrial complex, sure. Now, that would be a good question. It'd be an interesting deep dive to go into. It's like for every $1 billion that the U.S. government spends with Lockheed or Halliburton or whichever one of these, what's the U.S. economic impact of that spending? Right. Because I'm like, I get the premise. I get the premise of government spending for an economic stimulus. I understand the idea. The late, great George Carlin has a whole bit. It's like, we got a recession going on? Build a big fucking thing. Remember that bit?
Not specifically.
He's like, if you ever have a problem with the economy, this is what you do. You get the government together and you pick a place and you build a big fucking thing. And like that, and he goes on in the bit. It's like, you hire the architects to figure out what the big fucking thing is. Then you hang out the contractors to build the big fucking things, and the contractors hire all these guys. And then the diners and the restaurants and the movie theaters and the strip clubs and all these things come in to enhance the lives of the workers that are working on the big fucking thing. 15 years later, the big fucking thing's done. And you have a whole new city built up, and now it's a tourist trap, and people are traveling all over the country to come see the big fucking thing. And it's like, and I get that as a function of government. I get that. It's because you put $1 billion into this, and you spend it on a thing that is employing Americans and doing all that kind of stuff. Those Americans spend the money, then they spend the money, and they spend the money, and it rolls through the economy.
Yeah,
I would love to see that on military spending. How much of that does actually go into the U.S. economy? Because surely shit doesn't go to the soldiers because they don't get paid much of nothing. But there are contractors and civilian contractors, and there are people that make the guns or make the tanks or make the Jeeps or make the whatevers that are U.S. people. And I know at least for a period of time there was a rule that the Department of Defense wasn't allowed to buy foreign hardware. I don't know if that's still a rule or not. And then it comes to the question, like, how much of a Boeing jet is actually made in the U.S. or its component parts that are pulled in.
There's ways to get around that. You have all the parts sitting here like assembled in the U.S.
Right. There's a great one about on beef. USDA. You can say American beef.
It's processed in the U.S.
It could be a cow that was raised and butchered in Arizona or in Argentina.
Right.
But that whole cow gets shipped here. If you cut that cow into cuts, or even if you just repack it, like so. A cow in Argentina gets slaughtered, a whole set of ribeyes is cut off of it, packaged, sent in individual ribeye packages to Texas. A Texas company cuts it out of that package, puts it in a new package. That is U.S. beef, according to the USDA. That's fucking crazy. I do like the whole PETA thing where they put the name of the cow on the thing. If that was actually true, and the name of the cow and what farm they were from, I would love it. Because I would like to know that that's, Gertie from...
They're not going to go with that many names. It's going to get down to just numbers.
Oh, yeah. It's just ear tag number 646 from Yellowstone Ranch or whatever the fuck it is.
Right.
But still, I would love to actually know that cow was.
Would you really?
Was raised and butchered. I don't care about the name. It doesn't bother me. I jokingly named my.
Tell me, would you really want to know?
I would like to know that if it says U.S. beef, I would like to know that it's a U.S. cow. Yeah, I think it makes a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's at minimum, it's just misleading. I don't care. I'm not saying Argentinian beef is bad, but say it's beef from Argentina, and maybe I like Argentinian beef better.
Right.
I don't know, but at least be honest about what the fuck it is, because it's not U.S. beef. Just because I took the ribeye out of one bag and put it in another, and now it's a U.S. ribeye.
I mean, someone in their marketing department decided that it was better to label that as U.S., and they're like, well, I went to their lawyers, and they're like, how can we still get away with labeling this as
USDA
US beef?
made it.
And they were like, well, there's a finer point that, imported beef, can still be labeled as such. It just has to be repackaged. And it's like, well, all right, we'll just have them send over the package and we'll just repackage it.
And that count, yeah, it's cheaper that way. Yeah. I mean, I understand the business motive on it, but the government shouldn't enhance the business motive. That doesn't make sense.
Are you advocating for more regulations?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm advocating if we're going to fucking have them, they should be fucking logical.
Truth in labeling, which was a legislation that was passed.
Okay, yeah. Yes, absolutely. If we insist that this thing has to exist for society, then it should be fucking honest. Sure.
Okay, so we should have.
Are we going to go? Do we want to go down the utopian rabbit hole of what I would like to see the world to exist as? No, because it's fucking crazy and nobody cares, and it will never happen. But if we're going to stay inside reality and say, yes, we have a USDA whose job is to make sure that you are eating foods that are safe and healthy and produced in the right way, and we're spending billions of dollars a year on people and programs and office and paperwork and all the shit that they do there, then yes, it should be some
you think they
reasonable.
Get billions?
The USDA on an annual basis, I'd say they get at least $1 billion. All right, internet.
That'd be questionable. That's definitely one of those departments that has gotten defunded.
Each year, federal agencies receive funding from Congress known as the Budgetary Resources. In fiscal year 2024, the Department of Agriculture, USDA, had $350.11 billion into its 22 subcomponents. So yeah, I think
touche.
I think
you think they get at least $1 billion.
If you're going to get that kind of fucking money from me and you, then you should do what is good for me and you. And what you just said in your statement on it was very clear and very true, is that greedy business guy said, "How American beef sells better. How do we make this American beef even though we can't, it's not actually an American cow?" Well, the USDA is going to set it up so you could just put a new sticker on it and it's good enough. Why is the USDA doing anything to help a company be misleading? They're supposed to work for me and you. That's the reason they exist, is to protect us. If they're going to have to exist, then they should fucking do it right. Sure, you're right. If they just didn't exist, we'd
I
probably
didn't say
be
anything.
better.
What am I right about?
No, I'm going back on what you said. You're right. If they didn't exist, then I wouldn't have a complaint here. But they exist. I'd be happier if they didn't exist. Sure, because then we'd actually have neighborhood butcher shops.
So you want them to have rules, or you want them to not have rules?
I want them to not exist.
Cool.
Because I would rather, because then with the natural order of things is that I would go to a butcher shop, and I would know the guy that cuts my meat. And
the market just fixes itself.
I would think so.
What's that guy at the butcher shop going to do? You think he's going to buy the top choice, or is he going to buy?
I don't care what he buys.
What he can buy,
but he's gonna. It's gonna cost.
You
him,
don't care what he buys, but you want to care what you buy.
Yeah, because it's gonna cost him dearly if he tells me that I bought something. If he tells me that I'm buying a thing, and I find out he's lying to me.
How's it going to cost him dearly?
Well, at minimum, he's not going to get any more of my money. Depends how fucking angry.
That's going to hurt him.
You're right. Just fuck it. Every company you're right. You're right. Because in the new world that we live in, customer service is a fucking joke. Nobody gives a shit anymore. You're right. The internet has ruined customer service, so nobody cares if you fucking hate them, but they just deal with you because they have to. That's the world we live in now, and it sucks. And so yeah, I'd rather kind of move back to something where customer service comes back. I'm so fucking I'm sorry, I'm not yelling at you right now. Last weekend we went and we did our neighborhood or our weekly dinner thing that we always do, where we go out. The missus decided Papa John's because we have Domino's every other fucking week because the other kid. Go to Papa John's, order the pizza, get it home. They've made it wrong. Call them up, be like, hey, no big deal, but this pizza was made wrong. Can I come back and get it swapped out? Sure. Get there, it's like, we made it the same way you told us it was wrong. Okay. Well, we'll get it in there. We'll get it in there real quick. Just hang on. We'll get it fixed. It's like, okay, cool. I was feeling good about the customer service experience. I sat there for 25 minutes, and it was 10 minutes. I heard it happen. I was playing games on my phone because I was just chilling, waiting. And 10 minutes in, I hear this manager girl go, "Hey, is that blah 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 pizza in yet?" And the cook on the line's like, "I didn't hear you say anything about that pizza." I was like, "Cool, they haven't even started on my pizza yet." And she's like, "Yeah, I need that pizza in now." And so he's like, he said something back to her on it or whatever. And then while this is all going on, I'm listening to these two guys bitch about this lady got all pissed off that her food was wrong. And they're just talking to each other right in front of me about how this lady called and their food was wrong. And that bitch didn't even tip. It's like, well, good. She shouldn't have tipped because you made her food wrong. And it's just like I'm sitting there, like me and the customer service of me, I am flipping out if I'm on the other side of the counter. I see this guy who came in with a mistake. I don't even care if it was his own mistake. He comes in with a mistake. Not to mention they took my pizza that I stuck my finger in and put it on the shelf like they're going to sell it again. I don't know if they did or not, to be honest.
No.
I'm not going to tell you which Papa John's it. But like I thought maybe the topping was between layers of cheese, and so I ran my finger through a piece of the cheese side to see if there was some pepperoni in it. There wasn't. That was just my double check. But anyway, they asked me to bring the pizza back in the first place, which I thought was weird. I did bring it back, and they looked at it and said, okay, I see what you mean, or whatever. But then they didn't throw it away. They pulled the sticker off of it and put it on their shelf where all the pizzas that they're finishing are going. Again, I don't know if they sold it or not. I hope not. But they might have. Moral of the story is this is a 35-minute just shit show of because like nobody cares. There's 15 people working there, and I'm sitting there waiting on a pizza forever. They don't fucking care. None of them care. And that's the world we live in now. I do it every day all over the place I go. Customer service is fucking dead because nobody gives a shit about you anymore. And I don't like that.
What more would you like the people that are not cooking to do?
On the specific of the thing?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, if I'm the manager and I say, okay, I see the mistake. Let's get this taken care of for you.
They've already told you that they're taking care of it.
Sure.
I understand.
They did. And they turned around and they told their cook, and their cook didn't listen.
Right.
Or didn't hear it, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it takes them 10 minutes. She doesn't address me again. She doesn't say, hey, I'm sorry, we're still working on it. We got you going. I know it's in the oven right now.
So you wanted an update?
Update would have been good. It would have made me feel like they gave a shit. Sure. That'd be a start.
Yeah.
You know, I can
see your point.
I can go back to my Buffalo Wild Wings story where it's like, you ordered to-go food. I don't know. It's over there with Uber Eats shit. Just grab whichever bag you want. Nobody cares anymore. And you're right. And I don't know exactly how this lines up with what I was starting in the pitching the fit about. But yeah, I think reverting to some sort of world where customer service is actually what matters might not be a bad thing.
I'm for that. I was just
I
was pushing back on, I guess what I would consider is the other option to having regulations is that letting the market work itself out, which I don't see that happening for the most part throughout retail society. As far as like, oh well,
okay,
if it's a shitty company, they're just not gonna. People just won't go there. If it's a shitty butcher that's giving you shitty beef, like, you know, eventually, you know, he'll piss off enough people and he'll lose business. That's not going to happen. I'm sorry.
Well, then
people buy shitty
then
shit.
We're all
regardless.
idiots and we deserve it. I mean, that's part one. Part two is if the butcher is selling me beef from Argentina and telling me it's from the U.S., how's it any different than right now? That's the way except now somebody else is guaranteeing that it's U.S. beef, not him. It's not him lying to me.
Now it should be cheaper because they didn't have to go to an American company to get relabeled.
But if he's putting a sticker on it, or if he's telling me, I was like, hey, is this U.S. beef? And he says, yeah.
He can tell you where the fuck he wants.
Sure he can.
It's not costing him any money.
Right, but how's that any different than right now? Except right now...
He can buy it straight from Argentina.
Right, but right now there's a sticker on it that says the U.S. guarantees you that this is American meat, and it's not. So he's not lying to... Like, it's right now, it's... The butcher isn't actually lying to you, it's the U.S. government who's lying to you. That's the difference. You know, at least if the butcher's lying to you, I see you lying to me right now. I could say something to you. I could be like, hey, man, that's bullshit. You're getting your shit from Argentina. I don't know how I know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Do you think if I go to...
So I guess we're going back to a rule. You've read this for a fact that it can be imported.
Yes. This is USDA labeling standards for beef. You can put U.S. beef on a cow that was born, raised, butchered anywhere in the world, as long as something happened to it in the United States, you can call it a U.S. beef product.
I don't agree with it. I know it's been pointed out in many of like 60 Minutes and shit like that. So I'll agree with you that is a fucked up part of the USDA. I don't think that's a reason to just be like, flip the table over and be like, fuck you guys, you're $350 billion industry of, I think it was like 20.
Right, you're right, it's an industry. Freudian slip was perfect. Look.
The fuck are you getting at?
I'll agree
industry.
with you. I'll agree with you.
What would you consider the USDA? A regulatory authority?
Yeah, that would be a better, yeah.
I consider it
because an industry is usually profit motivated. Like that would be like you would usually like if you're talking about industry moguls, you're talking about people that are on profit motives. I would think, but I'll agree with you. The Wild West of it is probably not the best way to do it either. Maybe we should have some of these agencies that maybe put something together to help protect me and you from some shitbags out there running some dirty business schemes.
Why?
Never mind. Fuck it. You're right. Anarchy. You win. Anarchy. Because anytime I give you a fucking inch, but why? I'm trying to give you some sort of conversation sake, and you just throw it out the fucking window because yes, you're right. Philosophically, fuck it. Fuck it. I'd rather know the person the whole way through the process. I would rather not depend on the state to protect me from my fucking neighbor.
I'm trying to get you to lean towards my way.
You're not.
I appreciate you giving me an inch.
Well,
and I want you to...
Okay, so here's my problem. The way you're going about the argument with me when we do this kind of stuff makes me regret giving any space at all. And it like literally, that's why I say fuck it. You're right. Anarchy. Let's do it the only way that's realistically possible. Because I'm literally trying to open the door to say, okay, maybe I could see the argument for why a regulatory body should exist to help make sure that shitbag business guys don't take advantage of us because we're fucking morons.
I just want you to explain, I guess, my side of it from your understanding of trying to give me an inch. Was the only thing I shouldn't have said but why in such a tone that sets you off. Because I more just wanted to understand your reasoning of why you're even giving me an inch. Of what are you rationalizing that you think is valid in having
what I'm rationalizing
a regulatory...
is that the utopia will never exist, and so I have to deal with what is. That's the reality. Like, if I could rub the magic lamp and make it the way I wanted to, it would not be like this at all. But I can't. I acknowledge the fact that I am not the czar of the Western world and can't reform this in my own image.
I'm not asking you to envision a world in your own.
But that's the
utopia.
The necessity for my philosophical base is that direction. Is going to take that direction. The regulatory state is a fucking problem because it's bought and paid for, and they do shit on behalf of the business instead of opposed to. The idea of having who said it? Was it Benjamin Franklin? Wasn't it, or was it no? Fuck! It was one of the old school guys. He said, "Trading your freedom for safety, you deserve neither, and will get none, or something like that."
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is what the regulatory state is. You know, fuck the COVID regulations, fuck all this other crazy shit that everybody talks about, you know, the police being your protection and we need the military, you shouldn't own your own guns. Like, forget all that part.
Okay.
Forget all that, because that's always what the topic is look for the government to protect you and you're going to get neither or whatever. Like, that's the phrase. Like, that's what, like, Second Amendment guys lean on, and this is why I need to have my guns and shit like that, which I do technically agree with, but that's not the point. My point is that the regulatory state is the same thing. We are looking at the government to protect us from bad guys when we should be protecting ourselves. And every inch we give up or every time we ask the government to protect us, we're giving up mountains of freedom every time. And I think if you go backwards and look at how many things that we've looked at the government to protect us from and how much freedom we've given up for it, is why we're barely in a free state anymore as it sits. If we could call it a free state as it is.
You don't see us in a free state?
No, I don't. I could be arrested today and go to jail for the rest of my life if somebody decided they wanted to do it.
What?
This system's not fucking fair and equal or any of that shit. The state can do whatever the fuck they want to me, and I have no recourse.
You think the legal system is that slanted against you as a citizen?
No, it's not a slanted. Yeah, yes, slanted in the broader sense of me and the citizenry at large. Yes. If they decide to do so, they can arrest me, and they can make said charges stick. The fucking book is a mountain, like I mean, that's like how many mountains of books are there in a lawyer's office that are case law and how this applies here and how this applies there? If they want to, I've got violations on fucking housing code shit. They can repo my house. They can do whatever they want. They could eminent domain my front yard until I don't have enough room on my property, and then I'm in code violation. They have to tear my house down. If they want to do it, they could do it. Now, are they going to? Maybe not. Probably not. But the ability of the state to, if so enticed. Now, the issue is the state doesn't care about an individual. They do it in mass. They're not going to come pick out me as a person. They're just going to take parts and pieces over time. I can't sell you a cold beer if the fucking state gets its way. How fucking dumb is that? Is that freedom? For me to operate a business where I specialize in having this special cooler that's super cold but not so cold that it freezes your shit, so you have the coldest, bestest beer you could ever have. Or maybe more importantly, by the time you get home, it's still really cold because it was so cold when it left here.
Hell, we just started having grocery stores that had like an ice bin that allowed you to drink as you were shopping. I don't know if it ever happened around here, but I remember seeing there was
all the
stores
Krogers have fucking bars in them. Kroger's have like a bunch of Food Cities have bars in.
So Food City,
yeah,
Food City,
Kroger's and Food Cities both have.
I haven't seen one in a Kroger yet.
Yeah, the big one out in Farragut got it.
We were hearing about I guess in the produce section, but they had like a big ice bucket that had tall boys or something in it.
I mean, I don't think they have cans or bottles. It's just you can get a glass of wine or you can get a draft beer while you shop. But the beer can't leave the bar area. It's really dumb. Yeah.
I don't know if it was in Tennessee. I think it was another state that apparently there was a grocery store that was testing that out as far as having a big ice bucket basically because it will entice you to just buy more shit as you go throughout the store. And you
keep your empty can in the cart and you check
or obviously you're going to pay for it still.
Right, but I was saying you pay for it as you check. I don't know. How do you do age verify? That's the problem to me. But
yeah,
just have some kids walk in there and.
Yeah, I didn't think about that part of it.
I mean, I'll tell you what, when I was working for Littman and I was refilling the singles and stuff, I can't tell you how many times I found empty cans in there. Where people steal a beer, drink it, and then put the empty can back in the pick your own 6-pack thing. I mean, again,
that's on the store. They should have been policing their own shit.
Sure, we'll go back in time for a second here, and in my ridiculousness, in in the level of in where I draw the line in freedom. I can't drive. I can buy a car, but I can't drive my car without the state's permission, legally,
on a public road.
Right.
You can drive around your property all you please.
Sure, but I have no option. I can't. There is no other option other than to use the public road. There is no private option because the public owns the space.
Yeah.
I can't.
That we all pay for, yes.
I can't.
You want access to it without?
I mean, I would rather pay for usage than a blanket, whatever weird ass thing we got going on right now. But then I have no problem with that because pay for usage is going to automate some sort of in-car mileage counter thing, and that's none of your fucking business either. But.
Should be required to have licenses to drive on the road?
I mean, what is it? That's the question. Is it a tax? Is that the point? Is your driver's license a way to raise funds to build the roads? Or is that the gas tax? Because I do pay gas tax whether I have a driver's license or not. I do pay wheel tax when I get a license plate whether I have a driver's license or not. So technically, sure, we could throw the driver's license part of the conversation out of the window. I cannot drive on a public road.
True, without registration.
Without registration, which is part of what pays for it. So yeah, you're right. Driver's license is a separate thing. That's not part of that. So
I'm just asking about driver's license.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Yes, sure, no. What's the point? I don't see the point.
No point.
No. There's a million people with driver's license that are incapable of driving, but they're legally allowed to drive, and there are millions of people without driver's license who are perfectly capable of driving. What does it prove? It doesn't prove anything.
Okay.
Except for that I'm 21 when I want to buy beer. That's all my driver's license really does functionally for me. But I use my...
Gotcha. Should we allow
10-year-olds
to drive?
For that.
Should we allow 10-year-olds to drive?
Okay.
Okay.
You're going to find out real quick who can and can't drive, and we'll figure it out.
Sure. Who should be liable for that 10-year-old if an accident happens?
I would put that on their parents. No,
it's on the 10-year-old. It's on the driver,
sure.
Right?
Take the 10-year-old and their parents, yeah.
Why the parents?
Because it's okay. You're right. Fuck it. We get it. You want to get into age of consent now too?
No. I'm just saying. Who do you find at fault when things become awry?
Okay,
you want to live in this society where there is no victim until something bad happens, and then someone can have the recourse of their actions.
Okay, so the 10-year-old, does the 10-year-old own the car too in this fantasy scenario we're putting together?
Yeah.
So the 10-year-old has the means to buy a car.
Yeah.
So yeah, the 10-year-old's liable.
He bought in some Bitcoin.
Okay. Then we confiscate that Bitcoin.
Who does?
Whoever the victim is, they have the right. They have the right to compensation.
Victim's the state.
How's the victim the state?
Damage to property, roadways.
Okay. Then the state has the state has the right for compensation for damages done by a private individual. Sure.
Okay.
I mean, in this ridiculously obnoxious version of the scenario, it would be the conceptual existence of the state would get real dicey as compared to right now. But yeah, like if
conceptual.
I mean, we're talking about not having department.
How is it? How is it a concept of state-owned property?
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry. I jumped to. I jump back to a different part of what we were arguing. You're right.
Okay. Sorry.
If everything else was the same right now, except we had no restrictions on driving and a 10-year-old could drive. Okay. I don't. What's the problem? If they're capable of driving, they're going to drive. If they're not, they're going to get in a wreck and not have a car to drive.
Okay.
And they're going to be liable for damages done in that wreck, whether it's the state or some other person.
So licenses are just arbitrary.
Do what?
Driving licenses are arbitrary.
I think so. My father-in-law still has one, and he literally can't see. And he still drives, and he literally can't see. Like, he can't see it. Everything is at least double to him driving down the street. And we say, hey, you probably shouldn't be driving.
When was the last time he had a driver's test?
I don't know, but his license is valid. He lives in the state, but he lives far enough away that we don't visit or see him often enough that I'm going to take his driver's license. Like, that would stop him from driving or getting another one. We're going to take his car from him. Do I have a right to do that? Because I feel like it's in the public safety.
Do you have the right to take no from your father-in-law? No.
But the state does.
Does the state have the right to revoke a driving license? Yes.
Right, but that's not going to stop him from driving.
No.
Okay.
It cannot. No, having a piece of plastic in the wallet does not prevent you from getting behind the wheel and turning the ignition and starting your car and driving. Of
the tens of millions of people that are driving around every day, of the probably tens of thousands of people right here in Knox County, they're driving around every day for whatever reason. They don't have a legal piece of paper that says they can.
Right.
What's the difference?
Does it physically prevent them? No. Does it legally prevent them? Yes.
Does it make
it worse?
Does it make our roadways safer for the general public?
I would like to think yes. That at least that person that doesn't have a valid driver's maybe has that thought in their head that, like, I could get caught driving without a license again.
I better be careful. Or it's, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to go to jail here in the next month or two anyway for something, so fuck it. I'm going to go about my life. There's 1,000 motivations that could be behind that. I agree. It could be the good version of it where I'm going to be extra careful because I get pulled over. At best, I'm going to get a ticket that I can't afford to pay.
I think I'm being extra careful. I'm thinking I don't need to be driving. Like, maybe I should need to go down to the corner store to pick up a soda or something. I don't have a license.
But I mean, hell, people get their license revoked for the inability to pay a ticket.
Yes.
That doesn't mean they can't drive. That doesn't mean they're not functionally capable of driving safely.
No, it doesn't mean they're functionally, but it means they're not supposed to be legally driving.
Okay, but what's the point of the driver's license? Is it to ensure that we have safe drivers on the road? People that know how to operate the vehicle?
I would say more so.
Their fucking taxes like
I would say more so if our state give a damn about the actual driver's license testing. But
right. I mean,
they're like, hey, you can take 4 right turns. Yeah, you're good to drive.
I had to take 2 lefts on mine.
That's more than I did.
It was 2 rights and 2 lefts, though. It was literally a right out of the parking lot, a right into a different parking lot, turn around, take the left out of that parking lot, take the left back into the original parking lot.
Yeah. I guess I did do 1 left turn out of the parking lot, 4 right turns, and then a left back into the parking lot. So I guess it was more than just 4 right turns and 2 left turns.
Wow, you did more turns than I did. No parallel parking, though. I didn't have to do that one.
I didn't have to do that either. But other states require that.
Yeah. Anyway, we've been a long, rambling road on what's the point again?
Driver's license doesn't not having a driver's license does not inhibit your ability being able to drive it.
And it doesn't prove that you're capable or incapable, nor does having a driver's license. That's my point. Having a driver's license doesn't prove your capability.
It proves that you have been capable to a basic extent.
Once. When you were 16.
Yes. And then after a certain age, you do have to pass an eye exam.
Okay. So twice.
Which I don't know the last time
in the
your
average
father-in-law
lifetime
took it.
I don't know either. Twice in the average lifetime of a U.S. citizen, you have some sort of thing that has some sort of value in proving your ability to drive.
And also gets taken away by points on your license in most states for a varying degree of different things.
Right. It also gets taken away if you just forget to renew it. Because you were busy and you have other shit to do, then go down to the DMV and go smile for an updated picture.
Yeah.
I mean, it's taken away for a lot of reasons.
Yes, there's an expiration date on it that they would like, hey, you come back and then at least like ask us for a new one. At the very least, I don't think it's a really fucking hard thing to do.
It's not. You have to mail it in. I think you can mail it in nowadays.
Yeah, you can mail it in,
or you can probably do it online. But
so it's really fucking hard to renew your license.
I don't. But
you're acting like it's a fucking burden.
Sure, I don't have. Why?
Like why should I have to prove to the state that I know how to drive?
No, that's not what I'm proving to the state when I renew my license. I'm proving to the state that I know how to fill out their fucking paperwork.
No, that you still know how to drive as well.
No, I don't. I'm not proving that. I don't take a test. They don't ask me any questions.
You would not be able to renew it. You would not be able to renew it if you had enough points to, for speeding, etc. Which you have then proven to the state that, like, hey, I don't know how to abide by basic traffic laws.
Or if I have enough money, I can pay off the tickets and get a good lawyer to expunge the record, and then I can still keep driving. And so there is no proof that I can't drive, but I can get my license renewed.
That's another caveat of the legal system that, yes, you can admit fault. And
so can we just back up a second and agree that a driver's license proves nothing about your ability to drive, except for once when you're 16 and once when you're 65 and they do an eye exam, which even the eye exam doesn't prove your ability to drive, just proves that you can see. Having a license or not having a license has nothing to do with your ability to drive. Now, yes,
initial ability.
I will acknowledge that if your license is taken away from you by the state, it is likely because you have shown a propensity for
traffic infractions
for not following the traffic rules, which in and of itself is a whole other set of things. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. It doesn't matter.
Oh, bring it on.
But where did we even start on the driver's license thing? Oh yeah, the 10-year-olds can drive. Sure, if 10-year-old can go out there and drive, he can drive. Who gives a shit? I mean, if they are capable of doing so and they can safely travel from A to B, what's it matter?
Okay, cool. Can I drive drunk? Is that cool?
Yeah.
How many laws can I break and just? Sorry.
I mean, literally, your argument
they do
right now,
a caveat of what current laws can I break that you are just okay with, just not being laws.
Your argument right now is because it's a law, it has value. Like, that's your argument right now.
No, I'm trying to figure out why you think it does not need to be a law.
We need to respect it.
You have totally argued that same premise.
I'm sure I have.
No, I'm just wondering.
I don't speed. I stay pretty close to the speed limit, and even when we're out in the boonies and stuff like that, and there's nobody on the road, and it's a long straight stretch, I still only go like 5 or 10 over. I refuse to go 100 miles an hour.
Why? You can do it.
I am not comfortable with it.
Cool.
It's not a legality thing. I
think we talked about this like once before. I don't remember exactly, but I kind of gave the example of somebody doing like 90 down your road. I think it was it was last year when they just changed the laws in most neighborhoods and public roads in Knox County. It's down to 25, I think, versus 30 for residential.
Okay.
I think
yes, people speed down my road, and I get very upset about it.
Why?
It bothers me. It endangers my children. It makes me.
How does it endanger your children?
It makes me afraid.
But I mean, hey, you have legal recourse if someone hits your child. So I mean, you're covered, right?
But you know what I do is I am very cautious.
Oh, but do you worry that because someone may be doing 90 down the road, they could cause the death of your child?
Mm-hmm. I do.
But I mean, you don't know that's going to happen.
You're right. I don't.
So, I mean, just wait for it to happen, and then you can have legal recourse.
No, but
right?
do you know what I do because I'm a responsible parent?
What's that?
I watch. I pay attention.
Right. You never blink?
Excuse me?
It's like you never blink.
Sure, I blink. And when I blink, and when I blink and somebody going 90 down my road kills my kid, I'll probably kill him before the cops get here anyway.
Interesting. So, okay, cool.
And I'll go to jail. Whatever. It's fine. I'm good with it. I'm at peace with that premise.
So the world is right.
No, it's not. The world is not right in any way, shape, or form. And I probably won't feel better for it either, but I'll do it anyway. Again, does the fact that the sign on the end of the road says 15 miles an hour...
Does it preclude them from... No.
Do they already know currently in the current situation that it's probably 25 or something like that anyway, and they're doing 50 down this road? Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Do I have...
So the police then not have a...
No, okay, hold on.
Okay, sorry.
So when my kid goes chasing the ball out on the road and gets hit by and killed by this driver, I can go, whew, well, at least I know he was breaking the law to kill my fucking kid. That makes me feel better. At least there's that. My kid's dead, but the guy that did it's a criminal. Whew. I feel better about it. I'm okay now. Is that going to make me feel better about the fact that he murdered my child by speeding down my road? Nope. Doesn't change a goddamn thing.
Cool. So take that to civil court versus criminal court.
Okay. I'm going to take it to civil court anyway. He's going to go to jail for speeding and vehicular manslaughter criminally, and then I'm going to take him to civil court and take any dollars that he has left in his life after he's paid his attorney for his criminal case in the first place. So I'm going to get fucking nothing.
Oops.
Fuck. I'm sorry. I'm angry. I'm hitting buttons. I'm sorry, people. But you're right. I'm gonna feel better because he's in jail or she's in jail. I don't mean to be sexist on the speeder down the road.
He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything criminal other than homicide. That would be considered criminal.
Okay. So okay, well, you're right. I'm going to be so much more pissed off that they only got vehicular manslaughter and not vehicular manslaughter and speeding. You're right. I feel better. I feel worse. I feel so much worse that it's only vehicular manslaughter and not vehicular manslaughter and reckless driving and speeding. Because that makes me feel better that there's multiple counts on their record now instead of just one. They still killed my fucking kid. And there's nothing I could have done to stop it, period. There's nothing about civil society that makes a good goddamn bit of difference in that situation. Nothing. Period. Full stop. Nothing about the world we live in changes anything about that situation. Legally. As far as the laws of the world and licenses and registrations and, anything that the state of Tennessee or Knox County or anybody else could do about it. Nothing changes that situation. It's going to make me feel any better about it. Whether he had a license or not, whether he was drunk or not, none of that changes shit. Except for my fear of that happening takes away my ability to do things that I know I'm safe and comfortable with. That's the reality to me.
They're just expressing their freedom.
What are you talking about? They are not free to kill my child. Period. Full stop. End of story.
But in this world where we don't want speed limits, they're free to drive as fast as they like until something bad happens.
And accept the consequence of their decisions. Yes, absolutely. I don't understand how you're trying to back me off of my stance on this. Like, what am I supposed to, what am I supposed to say?
I'm just wondering how you are fearful for someone driving fast down the road because of something that could happen, but at the same time, you advocate
something can
against.
Happen no matter what. I can't change that something could happen. I'm a parent. I'm always going to be afraid that something could happen. The state of Tennessee, Knox County, the United States government, the UN, NATO, whatever the fuck it is, has zero to do with stopping something from happening. Maybe some things, maybe a short list of things they could maybe stop from possibly happening. But at the same time, there's a whole long list of things that they're adding to shit that could happen. Some fucking Palestinian kid who survives this fucking bullshit sneaks his way over here and decides to blow up the World Trade Centers again or some fucking bullshit like that. I didn't have anything to do with any of that, but my government made it happen. I have to live through the world post that. We did it once already. We're going to do it again. It's over and over and over again. None of that makes my kids safer.
I don't know where you went with that.
I know. I didn't mean to go down that rabbit hole either. I'm sorry. None of the laws of the land change the fact that somebody could drive 90 down my road right now and run over my kid. It doesn't matter that it's illegal. It could happen. I'm afraid of that happening, yes. Now, I could try to enact this.
I don't understand how you would advocate against a law that would at least prevent someone from being legally allowed to do 90 down your residential road.
Because I don't believe that the legally allowed to makes a difference in the conversation. The legally allowed to has nothing. It's the individual responsibility you can't law into existence. You can't make people responsible for themselves if they don't want to be, no matter how illegal it is to do whatever they're doing.
Okay, we were talking about the USDA regulations.
Okay.
And since it's allowable for companies to do this and that, they do it.
Sure.
So when you allow people to be able to do 90 down a residential road, do people feel obligated to not do that? No, they think, I can do 90. There's no speed limit. I can drive as fast as I want. Yes, they still know the repercussions if something were to happen.
Okay, so
but they also know that, like, I can drive as fast as I want down this road.
Mr. Apples and Oranges is trying to compare reckless driving with beef labeling right now?
Yeah. That if you allow,
which again,
they're going by the rules set. I don't think it's a huge fucking jump.
But no. Okay, apples and oranges is that so the meat packer is going by the rule set, where the comparison is me saying that there should be no rule set on the speed limit thing.
Okay, we'll say
so. Okay,
they
so
set
you're right. Though let's go back. So USDA doesn't exist. We don't have a rules set for the beef labeling thing, and then we go to my ridiculous utopia thing that we already went down the rabbit hole on. Is that it is my obligation as an individual to protect myself and interact with the person who is selling me stuff that I'm putting in my kids' bodies in a way that I can verify that what they're giving me is what they're saying they're going to give me, and that I have personal recourse with them as an individual, that I don't need the state to interfere with that recourse or be part of that recourse. I don't require the state to do that recourse for me. Whether that recourse is as simple as I'm not shopping with you anymore, or whether that recourse is I'm bringing a civil lawsuit against you because you are lying in what you're telling me you're giving me. So if the comparison is going to be that the legal apparatus doesn't exist around the thing, then okay, let's make that comparison. But you're saying legal apparatus exists on the meat side, but doesn't exist on the driving down the street side? And why are you not okay with this one, but okay with that one? Is that what am I understanding you correctly?
No, I'm saying you're pushing back that there weren't rules for, or I guess that there are rules, or there aren't rules for more transparent labeling of beef. I completely see your point.
Right.
And it's not a complete apples to apples.
Right.
It was just
and again, this is consistent in the concept is that if we're going to have rules, they should make functional sense. If I'm going to open the door gently and say, okay, I'm down with the premise of we as a society might be better off if we had a government body that could step in and make sure that, I don't know, a cow that says it was a U.S. cow is actually a cow from U.S. Okay. But then the entity that I'm asking to exist in that little tiny wedge of a door being open over here, that entity is actually working for us, the populace, and acting in our best interests. Where, again, you're right over here on our other comparison where theoretically the argument would be that we put these apparatus in place on how people and who's allowed to drive as a way to minimize the potential damages that people can do while they're driving. And if this thing needs to exist, then this may be some of the parameters that should. Which, again, same little wedge of a door opening. Okay, yes, I agree. If we're gonna get down to the nitty gritty of, we're gonna let a tiny bit of the door open, and I'm gonna step my foot in there and say yes, a little bit of the state is okay. Then yes, a little bit of the state is okay, and a little bit of the state saying maybe you shouldn't go 100 miles an hour through a neighborhood. Okay, I'm going to be okay with that. In the same way, I'm going to be okay with the steak is a U.S. steak, then it should be a U.S. steak. Like, those are the same little bits of things. I agree, sure.
Okay.
I'm not trying to advocate that it doesn't have a principal premise of existing, but it does, like, again, we were talking about driver's license anyway. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. I don't. Yeah, we got all over the fucking place. This is gonna be a weird one to listen back to.
Yeah.
But no, I think I had an epiphany on that whole. Those who will give up freedom for safety deserve neither and will get none, or whatever it is. Quote, and because I was thinking about banking stuff, and it's I don't know. I'm stuck on it. Like it's like whereas like the most one of the most regulated industries in the world, or in the United States at least, is the banking industry. And I don't, in the same way this USDA thing, I don't feel like it's regulated to protect us anymore. I don't feel like that's what's actually happening. I feel like it's protecting the banks and the bankers in their ability to do what they do and make a ton of money with us, on us, from us, or from the government in tax bailouts or whatever it is, and not, protect me and you from having our houses taken back or our mortgage defaulted or whatever it is. And I guess the point is that we get the government we deserve, and this is what we get for not being engaged and involved and paying attention and understanding how stupid processes like a law, going to rules, going to public, going like my whole Department of Ag thing that I learned today. Like, we don't know how any of that works. And since we don't know how it works, we just deal with what it is when it comes out. And that sucks. But, like we started with, we let it get complicated because they wanted it complicated. Yes, please, while you're in there, I would really, 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 really appreciate it. We let it get complicated. And they're hiding behind those complications and doing all sorts of crazy shit. And it doesn't do me and you any good. That's why I said bring me back to the Boeing thing. That just crossed my brain. You ready for this? You're probably not going to like this. You might like this. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that whole Boeing door blowing off in mid-flight situation? It's been a couple weeks ago. Do you remember? Yeah. Sorry, he's in the fridge getting beer for us. He said yes, he does remember the Boeing door falling off thing. That's his butt on the microphone. That's him falling into his chair. Shit got real in here, people. I got excited and I yelled about anarcho-capitalism. Anyway, what do you remember about the story? I didn't go deep dive into the story. I don't know a ton about it other than it happened. And there was a recall, or there was some conversation about whether they needed to recall the whole line of jets because they all have that same door mechanism.
I think they grounded a good bit of them. There's
concern that it was a design failure, not one-off. Like, it wasn't like just this one door had this one problem. It was that something about the way the door was designed makes it likely to happen again.
I thought they tracked it down to... I don't think it was a repair, but it was something from, like, manufacturing, and it was like a door plug that was taken out for the installation of something before it went on to, I guess, like the finalization manufacturing process. Like, parts of it were manufactured in one place and then I guess assembled in another. They took like the plug out to have this thing done, and then
they did apparently put the plug back in.
And that following something along the lines of that. I think it was what they kind of tracked it back down to.
So this is 100%. I haven't heard this anywhere else. Not that it doesn't already exist. This is 100% a personal conspiracy theory. Prediction, maybe. I don't see the U.S. government going hard at Boeing on this. Like, they grounded some planes. They did some stuff. Some people died. Whatever. The thing happened. Boeing's liable. I would say they're going to pay out a bunch of money. Hopefully. But I don't see Boeing getting any particularly specific backlash from the government, at least. From the families of the people that died and stuff like that, absolutely. Because there is a really, really bad relationship.
What realistically could the government do? Should they do?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I'd be curious to know in other cases of similar items or similar things on what the government has done. But I feel like there's probably been times in the past where the government really goes hard after them for fucking shit up.
I think the FAA can do what they did and essentially say, hey, all of this model are grounded.
Until we figure out what this thing is.
You're not flying anymore. Yeah, until we
Okay.
figure
Well,
out-
maybe this isn't. Maybe the conspiracy theory isn't exactly perfect as far as like in the current in the particular story. But
I was just curious what you thought they should be doing.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. But the thought that had crossed my mind on it more is that it's a complicated relationship at best between a company like Boeing and the U.S. government,
Yeah.
and it's a problem because again, going back to our USDA thing, it's like who's the FAA supposed to be protecting with what they do, and who has the power to adjust not adjust the AA, but like who has the power to push the FAA around into how, because like, okay, again, real quick, I don't want to go down the super tangent, but the whole special prosecutor on the Biden documents case thing,
Right.
Going off about the silly old man. Again, to me, was it necessary for the thing? No, was it a political hack? Probably, but you hear that part of prosecutors all the time. Prosecutors not going to take a case to trial if they don't think it's a winnable case. And there's a lot of different reasons why they don't think it's a winnable case. They don't have enough evidence in place. But the defendant being a particularly hard defendant to think a jury is going to convict is a real thing. They do that. That's not an uncommon practice among prosecutors, right?
Don't think it would have been a jury trial anyway, but go ahead.
I mean, that was in the statement, or that was in the thing that he put out, is that he doesn't think a jury was going to convict an ex-president of being willfully negligent with documents, or whatever the fucking statement was, right?
Right.
And so, and which the moral of the story is that that latitude that a prosecutor has to make a decision on whether to or to not bring charges, because the question isn't necessarily whether or not they committed the crime, it's whether you can go through the process and prove it. Well, if that latitude is there and that prosecutor works for the U.S. Justice Department or whatever it is, it's a top prosecutor for the federal government, and that prosecutor works for the President of the United States, but the President of the United States is also ordering bombers or jets or something, like it's real complicated. And again, I'm not trying to say there is or isn't. I'm just trying to say that the relationship is problematic in that sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a balancing act between the power that the federal government holds over, companies like Boeing.
Well, I think it's the other way. I think it's the power that Boeing has against the federal government. It's like,
and, yeah, as I said, that's a delicate balance of trying to exert power.
It's a weird, because it's like if I was buying, I don't know, I'm just picking something random. I'm buying lighters from you because you make the best lighters, and I need those lighters or whatever it is. I don't know, picking a random thing, flashlights, whatever it is. I'm buying flashlights from you, and you're the one that makes the best flashlights and the flashlights that I want. And I have a contract with you for a bunch of fucking money to make these flashlights and sell them to me. And you have these other flashlights that you sell to other people, and I'm supposed to prosecute you for your bad flashlights over here, but I still need you to make me my flashlights. And you are theoretically an independent company that can make your own decisions. It's like, okay, well, hey, if you prosecute me for this, or if you fine me for that, I'm not going to have enough money to make your flashlights for you anymore. Like, it's a weird relationship. Again, I'm not saying there's anything nefarious explicitly per se. I don't have any evidence or any even real conspiracy theorists that go down the rabbit hole on any of this shit. We say that's a weird relationship to put yourself in as the U.S. government. Maybe necessity. Theoretically, I could see the necessity for said problematic relationship.
No, it's definitely a problem that many of industries hold over the federal government, being as big as they are, being players that they are with the federal government, with federal contracts.
Yeah.
It's been an ongoing issue.
Yeah.
It's nothing new.
I don't know. It just kind of hit me with that Boeing thing. That's like, it'd be hard to go too hard at Boeing as a federal agency with the Department of Defense going behind me and like, yeah, they did do that, but they're making that jet and we kind of need it.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, there was interesting, John Oliver, I don't know when exactly it came out, but he was talking about chocolate and like the price of chocolate, that it's gone up. And, and kind of like, I think it kind of coincided with, I don't know what, like Dateline or something, where they actually sent some people into areas of Africa that grow the cacao beans, and how they'd never actually tasted like chocolate, like the finished product of like the shit that they had been, working hard to make. And you had, Nestle, was it Cadbury? I can't remember some of the other like major players.
Cadbury's fucking huge, goddamn British.
Yeah. But they're all like, we our hands are tied. Like we can't really do much about that. And it's like, you and 2 other companies own like 80% of the chocolate market. You can't say you don't have a sway over prices. Like if you are the main purchasers of it, you can also negotiate those down.
Okay.
I mean, it's a bit of a power struggle, but at the same time, if you are the people purchasing, just like the federal government purchasing from these major corporations, there is a little bit of leverage.
Sure. Absolutely.
I understand, like I said, it's a delicate balance, especially, when we talk about some of the military contracts and Boeing and whatnot, where you put in an order of planes that you may not get for 3 years or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you putting that order in where you made that contract to buy, so many planes. That there is that, like, I don't want to piss you off now because you're still making planes that you're supposed to deliver to me in 2028.
Yeah, but again, that goes back to that incentive thing and like where the government is at fault for all this. It's like, okay, well, you need to put stipulations in that shit where it's like, okay, this other side of your business over here has nothing to do with us. We have an obligation to go after you for X, Y, or Z because of what's going on over here, because that's what we do.
Right.
And if that affects us, that's on you. And you need to figure out how to handle that. And we have an exit. We should have it. Like any of those should have an exit clause. It's like, well, if you can't produce it, or you're going to give me some, we need more time thing. It's like there needs to be a penalty for that. And you don't pay, or you pay less, or you get a refund. Or
I would assume their lawyers have some kind of stipulations in there that if you don't meet it by this certain date, etc.
I don't know. I would assume that, but it just doesn't seem like that in practice ever.
So it was a big kerfuffle. What was it?
Oh, good
like
word.
Airbus years ago. I guess was supposed to be like a big player or a big competitor to the Boeing 747 or whatever.
Yeah.
And it had to do with like contracts as far as like literally countries, picking Airbus as their main new airline supplier. Et
the
cetera.
history, like that's one that I've like. It was a Jeopardy category a week ago. Some of the history of the airline industry is kind of crazy. Like most nations, including the U.S., I think, had at least one airline was a government company.
Yeah, there's still a number of countries that have it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I think that's gone. I mean, the U.S. is done with that, but I think American Airlines are...
Maybe used to be. Huh?
Maybe used to be kind of thing. And then, or maybe Pan American. Pan Am, I think might have been it. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't know how the U.S. plays in that whole thing. But like, yeah, you have like Canada Air, which still like flies the Maple Leaf. Like that was the category. The category was like the logos of airlines. And it was like, this one has a fucking kangaroo on it. Well, duh.
Qantas.
Yeah. Which I was like, oh, duh, Australian Air. And it's like Qantas. Like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Same thing. They would have took it, right? But I didn't realize, I knew it, as it was happening, like I understood it, but it was like I didn't think about it in how many like worldwide airlines that are nationalized companies.
Yeah. Well, we kind of take that for granted, being a superpower, and that we can have multiple multinational companies based in the U.S., where most other countries, like, they've got one big airline that have, was 3 or 4 in prior,
right,
in the past.
Now,
and then got consolidated into one of just conglomeration.
Now, how's that work in the trains in Europe, especially? Are the trains?
I know in Germany, like they have the Deutsche Bahn, which is like the German train system, basically. I'm pretty sure all the.
But is it Germany's or is it a company in Germany?
A company in Germany owns the, I guess, like the inter Germany trains, basically, but not necessarily the ones that go intercontinental. No, continental.
Right, international.
Yeah, internationally. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I was just like, I don't know. That's an interesting little rabbit hole to fall into.
I'm pretty sure the ones that operate within the country themselves are owned by the federal government, just like we have Amtrak. It's owned by the federal government. We just have a piss poor.
Well, we're also
system
fucking massive. The not an excuse, but an explanation.
I mean, we got away from it. We
Right,
pushed automotives.
Even though, like Germany is what, roughly the equivalent of Wisconsin in square miles.
Yeah, I think maybe.
Like all of Europe combined is smaller than the United States.
Yeah, something like that, probably.
Or pretty close.
Yeah.
It's plus or minus, but I'm pretty sure it's smaller, but not by a ton. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
And so that would the comparison would be that if we had a Tennessee rail company that just did inside Tennessee rail travel as a state of Tennessee business, for lack of a better word, a state-controlled business, I can see that as functional, as functionally doable, versus trying to do a national one for the entirety of the United States. It's too big.
Even if Tennessee was all flat, I don't think that was something that would ever happen anyway.
I don't think so either. I think the U.S. Yeah, the U.S. never got into trains other than. I remember in school that was one of the things in logistics class that like there are major like logistics companies and stuff that send people to the U.S. to look at our rail system for cargo, but not for passenger.
Yeah.
Like we have the car, like the way our rail system is set, like the way our rail system ended up over the years or whatever it is for cargo trains is
movement of goods,
right? But it's one of the it is functionally one of the best in the world, national as a nation, but only in cargo, not in people.
Huh.
And so, like literally, like there was like I was saying, like there's like the professor was talking about. I was like, yeah, there's major cargo companies like DHL and stuff like that that they come over here and they study the way the U.S. train system works, trying to look at how we are so good at moving things, not people.
All right.
Which, I guess that's a good thing. Jon Stewart's back on the Daily Show. Catch any of that yet?
Only a tiny bit.
Yeah.
I was trying to see if I could find like the whole episode, but I'm pretty sure you have to have a streaming service to.
I haven't watched any of it either. I did see the View went off on him for. It's so weird. Like the idea that it's a concern that Joe Biden is as old as he is, and Trump for that matter. Again, this isn't a partisan part, but the idea that the age of our presidential candidates is a problem doesn't seem that controversial as a statement to make to me. I did see Joe Manchin has come out publicly and said he is not going to try to make a third party run for president.
Did see that.
I was trying to figure out how to word it. Amanda Collins had put it up, and I said, "Oh man, it's too bad we can't choose. We can't choose from more than two or whatever." I can't remember what I said.
So I think he was talking about doing the no labels, but I'm not sure if that was
no
the most
labels
recent thing I read.
Yeah. What I don't. Who cares? Like, there's conversation about whether Kennedy is going to try to get a libertarian vice VP so that he can use the libertarian ballot access. Which, like, there's
Can
part
you
of
do that? I would think the main candidate would have to be a part of that
it's
party.
up to the party. I mean, the party's going to let him.
I guess.
And it's to
But
me.
would the party let them if they're not an avowed party
That's the problem.
affiliated?
That's
member?
the problem.
Not even member affiliated.
Right, and philosophically, he's not even remotely libertarian. That's the problem in the straight up politics of it. Is like, to me,
What would he be considered?
he's a classic liberal. Like he's an old school Democrat.
Is he? Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, he's an old school. Like he's not his great uncle. He's not his uncle by any means, but he's more in that vein than anything else. Little crackpot on his vaccine problematicness, and but I mean, he's a environmentalist. Like he was an environmental lawyer for decades, and so like what the he's probably. I mean, if anything, he's probably a little further left than Joe Biden. I would say.
Really?
Not a ton. I don't know.
That's why I saw a couple different stories of like apologizing to different family members of like his uncle or cousins or somebody else.
Yeah. I think the Super Bowl ad was a good example of it. I thought that was a great Super Bowl ad. Politically, it didn't say anything other than, I'm a Kennedy, you can vote independent.
Right.
Like, that was the totality of that ad. There was nothing else of quality in there. It's like, you know the name Kennedy. I'm one of them. Well, I'm not one of them.
That's also like who it was geared at. I mean, there's a good number of baby boomers still out there that would remember that ad. But I mean, other than that, I'm not really sure. I guess it could appeal to some, to like the retro nostalgia. And then, like you said, that it was just like, hey, you can still vote independent.
I would think that, like, history book wise and stuff like that, JFK is one of the most name recognized presidents short of Washington.
Right.
Like, I mean, I think if you're going to go by, like, not popularity in the sense that people like or dislike, but in known presidents outside of current, and even current probably.
Kennedy was pretty well liked.
I know. That's not my point. It's just saying, like, as far as like just names, like you studied them in school, or you suffered through that portion of whatever history class or whatever you had to take in middle, elementary, whatever it is. It's got to be Washington, Kennedy. It's got to be one too. According to Knox County Schools, Sam Adams.
I mean, at least for the 20th century, definitely. I mean, you got FDR, Kennedy. Good bit of talk of Nixon.
Yeah, but Nixon for bad.
Right.
No, if you're going to go 20th century, it's Kennedy all the way. I can't think of a president that has more gravitas.
But even some of the notoriety was he and his brother both being assassinated.
Sure.
And you have the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Which, if I were...
But I mean, outside of that, I mean, Kennedy wasn't known for much else.
No, I agree with that.
You got the Cuban Missile Crisis.
He was super young, and which isn't...
Did he get us into Vietnam? Was he at the beginning of Vietnam?
No. We were already in it. Which... he was super young. He was one of the youngest presidents we've ever had.
Yeah.
Which, humorously enough, Kennedy is by far the youngest president we have running right now. But he's 70.
Was he older than Haley?
Well, she's not going to be the Republican nominee.
Oh, you think Kennedy is?
No.
Okay, so I'm not really sure why.
Kennedy will be. He's an independent candidate. He will be on the ballot if he can get ballot access. He'll be on the ballot. An actual somebody you can vote for in the general. Kennedy will be on that ballot most likely in most states, and he will be the youngest on the ballot of the majors. There will be some other ones. Libertarians are probably not going to let him do it. Oh, I don't know. I'm stuck on that one. I think I'd kind of like to see the Libertarian Party let him do it.
Pick one as a VP.
Yeah, let him bring a Libertarian in as a VP, and then let him use the ballot access. Because if he's on all 50 state ballots, I think it'll be a Perot plus. I think it'll be more than Perot.
So were you able to pull up that article I sent you on his campaign?
I know. I mean, I didn't read it. No, yes, I was able to open it, but no, I didn't read through it. I just read the headline. But I've heard the story other places as well.
So it's kind of like I don't know much about like election financing, but the way they laid out some of the numbers, I was like, wait, what?
I mean, it's one of those.
Like one guy or one company donated like $5 million
to his PAC.
To his PAC, and then his PAC reported like, hey, we got $5.5 million in holdings.
Yeah,
it seemed like it was more of just kind of like adding to that gravitas.
I think this is
of a campaign, but then at the same time, I'm pretty sure it was pretty much just one person. I don't think it was a company or entity. It was just like one person.
Might have been. I don't know. I mean, but the thing to me is like, do you think that is any different than anybody else?
Yeah.
You don't think that?
I mean, what kind of political? Okay, I'm running for...
I didn't read the article, so I don't know exactly what you're talking about. Please make clarify.
I mean, how I read it was essentially like, I'm pretty sure that they said it as such, that they had some kind of agreement between this person and his political action committee. Whatever was donated to them, he somehow was able to, if they don't use it, you can take it back, which isn't unheard of, that if you get to the end of a campaign, that you can, they may disperse back out whatever remaining funds are there. Apparently, this has already happened at least once, and we're still in the middle of in the early stages, of a campaign. Yeah, it's really millions of dollars.
Almost $10 million to...
that were donated, but have also been given back to him. So, as part of, I'm pretty sure by the FAC, Financial Election Commission disclosure, whatever.
All right,
Federal Election Commission, sorry.
So I spent all morning this morning emailing all the car dealerships in town, trying to invite them to come do my derby.
Yeah.
And so now my Google ads are car lots.
Nice.
But so they sent $10 million back to a donor, basically. So this guy donated $10 million plus dollars, and they sent him 9.65 back, and that's weird.
Something like that, yeah.
That's what okay. It does sound weird. Doesn't sound like a donation. Sounds like a...
Yeah, it's like, how many donations are you able to give? And it's like, well, I'll take that back. But it sounds like a part of it was, so then, his campaign could say, hey, we've got $2 million in our war chest.
His campaign or the PAC.
Or the PAC, yeah. The PAC.
Again, may or may not be the same.
That is supporting him.
Right.
But,
okay, so...
Because that's a totally different story from, I guess, what the Democrats had alleged that his PAC was too aligned with his campaign.
Right. He is actually in contact with them.
I'm assuming they wouldn't allege if there wasn't.
They all do, I would assume, as well.
Then fucking blow that whistle if you got that shit. But I'm assuming that it wouldn't be brought out if there wasn't something unethical or illegal against it.
Okay, so the question would be, if we're going to stay on this part of the rabbit hole, right? Just on this, if everybody's doing it, why is RFK getting in trouble for doing it? Part of it,
I guess, kind of, yeah.
Just staying on that one, is because who is going to be the one that prosecutes it? Who would prosecute the election by some sort of finance, election finance, whatever?
I'm assuming that's part of the Justice Department.
Okay, is that a partisan body?
No.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Who appoints the head of the Justice Department?
The president.
Okay. Do they have self-protection interest in making sure the president is happy with them as an individual? Does the president have the ability to fire him?
I'm not sure if they serve at the president's behest, per se.
I'm going to bet they do. I'm pretty sure they do. I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure that the president can't just fire the attorney. Actually, did Trump do it?
I'm pretty sure they can. Yeah.
Did Trump fire his attorney general?
He had the whole thing with Mattis, and that's not the attorney general, I know, but that's the head of the Department of Defense.
Was it,
he can hire and fire department heads as he sees fit, or joint chiefs of staff, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. That's within the authority of the president and the executive branch.
Gotcha. So that's your reasoning.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I'm okay. Not to go down the rabbit hole in another of my I'm fucking crazy whatever kind of shits is. I believe 110% that the two parties as they sit now, the Republicans and the Democrats, know explicitly that they are better off if it's just them. Period. Full stop. So, as much as they don't get along or do anything positive on a day-to-day basis, it is in their own best interest to make sure that there isn't somebody else playing with them. So they are more than happy to work together to stop anybody else from playing the game with them. And so, yes, I do believe...
But no one's going to call out that game?
I do believe that when I believe that the Democrats or the Republicans as a party apparatus, as all the parts and pieces of the top brass that live within those entities, if they see a third party, they're going to pick at it, and they're never going to pick at each other on things like this.
No.
Do you think for a half a second that Trump's
do you think for half a second that if Robert F. Kennedy's PAC or anyone that has money behind him has any inkling whatsoever that there's impropriety in the DNC, RNC, in any other campaigns?
Absolutely.
They wouldn't call it out?
They can allege all they want, and I'm sure
Okay.
I'll bet you Kennedy already has.
And nobody's picked it up.
I would think so, yeah.
Nobody's picked it up.
I would think so, yes.
Interesting. No, not even like 4chan and all that bullshit.
I mean, I don't travel in those circles, so I couldn't say yes or no. So, do you know that they haven't?
Pretty damn sure, because it would have been news at some point.
Well, where would you have seen it? You have news, your CBS News is citing 4chan for their documentation on things?
No, but they do cite of what's going on in those outlying channels, yes.
I don't know.
I think it would be a fucking news story if RFK Jr. had any kind of allegation.
Maybe he doesn't want to get shot. I don't know. That's a bad joke. I don't know if he has or not. You're right. I don't know. I'm making shit up on that. I think. I don't pretend to think for. Do you think for a half a second that the PACs that are associated with the Trump campaign are not communicating directly with Trump? Do you really think that's true?
Directly
with the Trump campaign. Let me broaden that statement a little bit.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know what kind of closeness they are or are not supposed to have.
Do you think for a half a second that the Trump campaign is playing by the rules that the FCC or the election commissions or whatever? Do you think for a half a second that they are playing legitimately by those rules?
I'm sure they're skirting the lines. I would like to think they're at least
why haven't we heard about it?
Of what?
Why hasn't somebody alleged that? Why isn't there evidence and stories on that? I don't think so. I agree. I think there's no way that Trump himself is probably not having conversations with somebody controlling billions of dollars or millions of dollars in his campaign interests.
Well, the bigger stories has been how much out of his campaign is going to his legal fees. Which, if I was a fucking Trump donor, I'd be pissed off.
Maybe not, but I mean, even in that, is that ethical? Is that legal in the in campaign donation conversation?
I'm assuming a political action committee can do as they see fit for a
for their candidate
contender.
As they wish.
Let's call him a contender, a candidate. Yes.
Okay. Again, go back to the original statement. Do you think for a half a second that the handful of PACs that are campaigning and working for Trump and taking money from people in Trump's name and giving it to Trump for legal fees, not even for his actual campaign, even though functionally that's kind of the same thing if you get down to the brass tacks of it, do you think that Trump and his top closest people in inner circle or whatever isn't having conversations with that PAC directly? Even though that's clearly illegal in campaign finance.
As I stated originally, I don't know how close they are or are not supposed to work.
You could not. I don't know how. Like that's I don't know what evidence I would need to see to prove that it wasn't happening. Because I can't imagine it's not.
Yes,
it doesn't make a bit of sense.
I am literally going off of a story that I read of an accusation of RFK Jr.'s campaign.
But my point is that like and with the Trump campaign specifically, there's no shortcoming of allegations of Trump and his team and people around him doing all sorts of crazy shit. But why isn't this one coming up? I can't imagine it's not actually happening.
I think it has. In more like smaller terms as far as like what they've done with the money or how they've gotten the money. But as far as the connection, I don't know.
I don't know. Again, to me, I can't, like I said, I can't imagine. I don't know what I would have to see.
I would like to think this time around they've insulated themselves a little bit more legally and tried to tiptoe around what they can or cannot do.
Man, I'm the one that makes fun of myself for giving credit where credit isn't due. You really think that they're being like Trump's all of a sudden gotten smarter? Are you telling me that Trump's smart?
People around him, not himself. No,
all the smart people fled because he's fucking crazy. At least that's what I was told.
Or he turned on him. Or they turned on him,
or he told him to take the fall so that he didn't have to.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's get down to the news. Let's get out of here.
You know, I ran
into
this was
a hot episode, man. I got
stories.
You got me hot tonight. I'm sorry.
There's a bunch.
News of the weird. Trump campaign is not coordinating with their PACs to, I don't know, subvert democracy or some shit like that.
Okay.
I don't fucking know. I got a good buzz going though.
Cheers.
It's a bunch of fucking bullshit. Which button is it? This one? Oh yeah, it's this button.
God, we're there for a second. I had
That's
some
the button that makes me feel good. What?
I had some news pop up. I thought it was saying Paul McCartney just passed, but it was some other Paul McCartney story. I was like, whoa, Paul McCartney, what? What?
We got to come to terms with it. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, he already. Sorry, no, it's a conspiracy theory.
Well, yeah, I know that one. That's fun. It's interesting, I guess.
It's a thought, I guess.
I mean, does it make a difference? That's the thing with that one to me.
Still sounds. I don't think they could find someone.
Does it make a difference? Right? Really? Okay, the original Paul McCartney's dead. Some guy that looks like him that plays bass left-handed and goes on to create Wings and do all the other things that Paul McCartney's done since. Does it matter if it's not the original Paul McCartney? Does it hurt your feelings?
No, but it matters to the fact that people think that it is not him. I think that's more to the point.
But
people are just content to be like, oh, it's still great music. It's like, yeah, but you believe he's dead and it's a totally different person. No, it's not the same.
I don't know. To me, it just doesn't. It doesn't I didn't know him personally. It's not like he lied to my face. I'm good. I don't care.
You would be perpetuating a falsity for decades.
But again, I don't care.
Who's it hurting?
I don't care who. I don't care which one's the truth. Beautiful music came. I'm good with it. I don't care about the artist. I care about the art.
Okay.
You could be Jim Bob Cooter. Wait, that's a UT quarterback. But anyway, I don't care. I don't care what their name is. The art came, and that's all I care about.
I guess if I put myself in his shoes, I'd be really pissed off that everyone thinks that everything that you appreciate and has done is done as an imposter.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't really care about his person's his emotions don't really matter to me. His personal self-worth. Why would it, anyway? I'm sorry. Anyway, this thing.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think it was Portland, Maine. I thought it was a different town. But, yeah, I did hear an interesting story about the Valentine's Bandit. It was a small town in Maine.
Stealing panties. What?
Huh? What? No. Been going on for 30 or 40 years. There was a guy that had been decorating the town. I actually don't have to read some of this story because I actually heard a part of it.
Okay.
It went so far as apparently they had a lighthouse or an island that was only accessible by boat that this guy was going out onto and decorating this, but would decorate the town with hearts, etc. throughout the town. And I guess eventually he started incorporating one or two of his friends, but it was anonymous for years. And it was just the Valentine's Bandit.
He should be in jail. Defacing public property, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
It's a crime.
It's only a crime if there's a victim.
I mean, the city would have to clean it up. There's the tax dollars are getting spent on that. The victim is the city.
Yep.
Is it not?
Nope.
It's not free.
It's perspective.
No.
Did the city pay to clean it up?
Yeah.
No.
No? Who paid to clean it up?
No.
Tell me the story. Where in the story does it say how it got cleaned up? Did he come back afterwards and clean it up?
No.
So all his heart decorations all over town just magically disappeared?
I don't fucking know. I'd say it's the people's
Like legitimate Cupid action, like a mythical figure.
right. More than 4 decades, the people of Portland, Maine. I guess the world was a different town. Large, small red hearts festooning storefronts, statues, parking garages, and some of the city's biggest landmarks. That tradition was imperiled by the death of the so-called Valentine's Day bandit last spring.
Okay. So it started with the dude, and then everybody did it on their own.
No, I think you only got like a few other people involved in it. Like I said, even like for decades, like it was still like hush hush as to who exactly was doing it.
It's criminal.
But no one really looked into it.
Why not? I love you, buddy.
Got a stingray that is found pregnant at a mountain aquarium. Parthenogenesis.
Sure. Tell me about that word.
Conception without the opposite sex, or conception without a other partner.
Okay. So the stingray's in an aquarium with no possibility of being... Okay.
Yeah. It's been
Immaculate.
much
The
of her
Immaculate
life
Conception.
in North Carolina's Appalachian Mountains.
Oh, damn, that's local.
I didn't say what city. Oh, Charlotte, I guess.
That ain't in the Appalachians, you motherfuckers. Who wrote that story?
Well, the story was out of Charlotte. No,
Where's the aquarium? Come on. Where's this Appalachian?
Stingray's name was Charlotte. It doesn't say exactly where it was.
Nah, come on now.
Storefront aquarium in North Carolina's Appalachian Mountains. I would guess Asheville.
Better be. Charlotte ain't no fucking Appalachia. I mean, Knoxville's barely Appalachia. I'm going to claim credit, though.
Yeah, I don't see exactly where it was. But
There's no other stingrays there. This thing got pregnant out of nowhere.
Yep. Hadn't seen another stingray in like 8 years.
I don't know the mating process of stingrays. Could it been? Is it a long maturation process?
See, apparently she was in a tank with other sharks, and it was floated that, like, oh, it's cross species.
Ooh, dirty. We got a liger situation here.
But no. The most rare phenomenon can occur in some insects, fish, amphibians, birds, and reptiles, but not mammals.
Stupid mammals.
Fuck you, Mary.
That's why it's so special, man.
Yep.
Oh.
Because it's possible?
Because it's impossible. The Immaculate Conception. Anyway. You got anything else you want to call it a night?
Yeah, there's some other funny ones, but no.
Stockpile that shit, because you run into a couple of dead weeks.
I know. That's why I was like,
All right, cool.
Just hold on to those.
All right, well, I love you. You're my favorite male person that isn't my child.
I am not your mail person. I do not deliver mails.
These are the jokes we did. You're welcome. We did what we did. Sorry for the weird kind of breakups. Had a couple of pauses there. Not unusual. Had a weird start because I fucked up the recording process a bunch of times. almostagreement@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. Click the link to Hollaroo, hollaroo.co, happyhollerfest.com. Sign up. Come race derby cars with me. It's going to be great. It's not a super fast course, so nobody should die. My minimum requirement is that nobody does. But we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a street fair. We're going to have a concert. We're still finalizing the band lineup for the day. But you'll see all that coming soon. Go to hollaroo.co, happyhollerfest.com, and check that out. Check us out, almostagreement.com, almostagreement@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to your favorite podcast provider. Get us there. Tell your friends about us. Text it to them. It's the easy way to say, hey, look at these two idiots talk for hours on end. And maybe they might get something out of what we do. Maybe not. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week. Good night.